Alright, interesting question was posed, or thought was posed during the last Herbs and Rye Q&A video, part 3. Link at the top if you missed it. The person who asked the question about Herbs and Rye's poker bankroll, and if you must know, gas station behind me, on the other side, these very loud noises are the trucks that bring the pigs to slaughter. But directly across the street is the laundromat. No laundry for guests in this Airbnb. Clothes getting washed right over there. Keeping an eye on things from across the street. Anyway, so Herbs and Rye said he doesn't have like a poker bankroll. I don't either. Not a lot of people back in the day did it this way. Don't hear a lot of conversations about this anymore, but it was like a fairly common topic of discussion in the poker world between like 08 and like 16, something like that. So there are people who just completely keep money separate for poker purposes. Some people just have like a bank account, I guess a checking account, and there's cash in there, and they withdraw some when they go play, and they deposit it when they're done. And if it gets like very high, they take some out. If it gets low, they need to fund it with money from elsewhere. There are some people who really don't hear much about this anymore, but I know people who used to like pay themselves. You know, they would keep this like checking account just for poker purposes, and like on the first of every month take like whatever they need for the month, $4,000, $5,000 out, put it into their other checking account for like paying for bills, and like the poker person paid the actual person. So the poker player was kind of like the boss paying the other persona, or like however you want to think about it. So money was always coming out because you need money to pay bills, and like it was up to you to like play enough and play well enough and run good enough, not that you have any choice in the last part, to like make enough money so that the funds never hit zero in that poker account. I understand doing that if you're playing part-time and or recreationally. If you just want to keep things a little separate, I understand that. If like maybe your goal in life is like, I'm putting X dollars into this account and I play about once a week for fun, regardless of how seriously you take it, and you just like never want that number to get to zero, I understand that. I also understand if you take poker very, very seriously, but don't have a ton of time to play, and doing something like that. Just because most of your like financial life is gonna be things not related to poker, if like you only get out to play like once a week, and of course there are gonna be weeks where you don't get out to play at all, so maybe you're looking at like 40 sessions a year you get out to play. It's just like most of your life is gonna be involved with other things. Money coming in from other things, paying bills, you know, every day, week, month, and the poker money won't be like a huge part. So I understand just like keeping it separate and doing it that way. If you're playing poker like constantly, do I hear sprinklers going off? If you're playing poker constantly and like poker income and also expenses, there's some expenses, you know, travel, and I don't play tournaments, but like tournament buy-ins, I would kind of view that way. That, I don't know. Hope there's not like a gas leak. There's like a strong smell, and I hear like something like spraying over there, but I can't really see it. Anyway, if like poker is happening every day, I think it's like completely unnecessary to totally separate some money. I have a very good understanding of like where my incomes come from and how much, and like what day of the month. Like YouTube, like the way YouTube does it, you know, you earn for a calendar month and then you're paid on about the 21st, sometimes the 22nd of the following month. So like right now it's September, so I put up videos in August, people watched videos in August, people watch videos from the past, but it was in August that they watched, and there is like a check, an electronic check coming my way. For me right now, it is the 16th. So in about 5 days, that money will come in. I know the day it's coming in. I know the amount. I'm just waiting for it. And I also have a great understanding of my expenses. So like, I know what's coming in. I know what's going out. I don't need to separate the money between like poker and non-poker. If there were ever a time, and I've gone through like break-even stretches. I remember in 2015, first 7 weeks when I moved to Vegas were great, and then I had 3 consecutive losing months. But I was aware, like I knew at the beginning of that poor 3-month stretch, like what was going on, and I knew like I wasn't having money coming in that month, and I knew the next month I didn't have any like extra money to pay bills. I didn't have like extra money. At the time, it was really just paying bills. Now, when I have extra money, I put it in my portfolio. But in 2015, it was just like, as basic as it gets. I hope I make just barely enough money to pay every bill I need for the year. And then next year, I'll like maybe have the same goal, maybe have something a little grander than that. But I understood, like it wasn't any money coming in. I had a losing month. It wasn't very severe. May 2015, I think it was like minus 250. I think the following month was about the same, and then the following month was a lot more severe than that. But like I understood the whole time. It wasn't like I was playing and like not aware of my results. It also wasn't like I wasn't aware of my expenses. I had a great deal. Rented a room in a house. Utilities were included. So pretty sure it was just $650 a month. That was it. I mean, not that rent was my only bill, but you know, sometimes it could get out of hand. You know, rent, gas, electric, water, trash, sewage, and then on top of that, like Wi-Fi. I don't think as many people have like cable now. Wi-Fi probably covers your streaming services and your YouTube videos and everything, but no, for me, it was the 650. It was like one flat rate, 650, and I understood that. I also wasn't spending a lot. It wasn't that my first 7 weeks were great and I just like spent all the money I made. Like I was aware that it was very, very possible I had a break-even month or a losing month. Not a incredibly severe losing month, but yeah, like, you know, -1 buy-in, that's a losing month. It's a number below zero, it's in the negative. So I was aware that could happen. So as things were going well, I was fortunate, which I realized at the time and very much appreciate now. I was fortunate that the first 7 weeks went very, very well. So I didn't start off with like money being tight, but for the first 7 weeks, my expenses were low, like normal, because I was prepared for, you know, worse things to happen. And I had a lot coming in from poker for those 7 weeks. So I had like extra. I didn't waste it on something. I didn't spend it on something I wanted but didn't really need. And at the time I wasn't really focused on like long-term investments. I didn't even have a portfolio. So I just had like a lot more money that came in than I spent. I was aware of that fact. And I was aware that if a break-even month on the poker tables went by, like I wasn't in trouble because I had like extra money from the first 2 months when I moved to Vegas. So if you have a really good understanding of where your money comes from and where it goes and the amounts and on what dates and the frequencies, I don't think it's necessary to keep poker money completely separate. I also think it's quite a luxury. It's kind of ironic in a sense because say you're just a single person living in an apartment and you're playing a lot of poker at your local casino and that's your main income. I mean, if you have like this giant stash of money to put aside, like I don't know, say you need like 40 grand to get by for the year, and you decide to put like 75 grand in this poker account. I mean, if you have that much money that you could take $75,000 liquid and just put it into an account and call it a poker account, like you seem so well off that none of this matters at all. Like being diligent and really caring about like the numbers and the frequencies and being on top of everything, it matters when you're like, when you don't have a lot of money, when you're struggling, when you're really, really trying to get ahead. Once you're at a point where like your financial state doesn't matter that much because you're like pretty like set, well, that's the point where you could just take this giant stash of money and put it into an account and call a poker account. So if you really could afford to do something like that, it doesn't matter because you just have a lot of money. If you really want to be diligent and do something like that, you really can't, because if you're in that state, like, the money is tighter and it matters a lot more to you. So for one, I don't think it's necessary, and for two, I only think it's really like feasible to the people who don't really need it. So anyway, I don't do it either. Herbs and Rye doesn't do it, although he you know, he has his painting business and he does play a lot of poker. Poker for me is still the number one thing in terms of time that I do of my income. So we don't have the exact same life, but neither of us do a poker bankroll, quote unquote. I think it's unnecessary and often doesn't even make sense logistically. And remember, rice is a spoon food.